Welcome to week one. We have successfully learned about intermittent fasting and whole food nutrition. We have eliminated, or at least worked on eliminating, all gluten and dairy from our diet. Hopefully, some of you are already seeing some of the benefits from eliminating those two things from your diet. And then we are also focusing on non-scale victories, which is an awesome mindset change for everyone. So this week, we are going to focus on what are macronutrients, how do we track them, and then overall what program we're using and whatnot. So we're going to learn all about macronutrients. We're going to use MyFitnessPal to track this. We're going to use the videos that are going to be posted in the group in the next day about how to set up your goals, what those goals might look like. If you have the premium version, what the difference is and why that might be beneficial or not to you. And then also how to track food daily. So those are your priorities this week. By the end of this week, I want you consistently logging your food choices. I want you working still to eliminate dairy and gluten, and then also experimenting with tighter fasting windows. Maybe you made it to 12 hours, and this week your goal is to make it to 14 or 16. We really want you to work on getting closer to that 16-8 protocol, and then trying those workouts. I'm going to challenge you to try those workouts. Even if you have other things that you're doing, try to work out on one of those rest days. Do maybe it's a day that you are going to be out of town or whatnot, and you can use some of those workouts as an option for yourself. And then the biggest thing, by end of week one, I want you to know what the 3 macros are and why they're important. So let's start there. Let's start first with our macros. So there are large macronutrients that make up all the food that we eat. Those are carbs, protein, and fats. Carbohydrates, protein, and fats make up the 3 big macronutrients. Now there are a ton of micronutrients, and by eating whole foods and sticking to unprocessed foods, we are able to get in the amount of micronutrients, but we are truly going to be tracking macronutrients. So your protein is very important because, one, it keeps you full and satisfied. It also protects and preserves lean muscle and helps you build lean muscle when your fuel reserves are high. So we are going to really focus on getting in that protein, and protein sources are things like grilled chicken, fish, eggs have great protein in them. Actually, broccoli is a good source of protein as well. So there are great protein sources, but they're typically meats and whatnot that are the biggest sources of protein that people think of. Now, fats are great because they give you a great source of energy. They help absorb specific nutrients, and then they actually, and those include fat soluble vitamins, A and K, and all, the fat soluble vitamins that we've all heard, and then also they're used to make hormones. So really important to get your fat in because it actually helps create hormones. And we need those hormones to stay healthy and keep our hormones regulated and not have all these other things that happen when our hormones aren't working properly. They are also critical for chemicals in your brain. So fats will help with focus and whatnot. It's a reason why people with epilepsy end up on a keto diet, which is very high in fat and low in carbs. The problem with the keto diet, which I know some of you have probably come from, is it's very hard to sustain long term. A lot of people will see results in the very beginning with a keto diet because you're cutting out carbs, but as you get further and further into that, it can be really hard to continue to see results. And ultimately, it's a difficult lifestyle to sustain for the long term. So fats also provide texture, they provide flavor for foods, they also help buffer the absorption of carbs. So when you eat fat with carbs, it actually helps decrease the insulin response and the blood sugar spike that we see, which is very helpful, especially after fasting. So ideally, when you break your fast, you would have some fat, some protein, and some carb in that first meal. Now, carbs are interesting because they are the body's preferred source of energy. They initiate blood sugar responses, and we need the blood sugar response to initiate a insulin response. And then insulin is actually a master hormone in our body and helps turn on and off other hormones like testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. So insulin is super important with this. And that's why our body truly needs carbs to be able to function properly. It also helps rebuild lean muscle when we have done strength workouts and had those little micro tears in muscle. Carbs are the things that come in and help refuel those muscles. So it's very important, and you'll see as we go further into this that the regular macro days are paired with strength workouts for that very reason, so that you can refuel your muscles once you have broken them down with some strength training. All macros can be found in animal and plant-based foods. So there's all sorts of tips and posts in the portal list, and there's even a tip sheet that I will post for you about some different foods for each of the macros, the carbs, the fats, the protein, to give you some good ideas. Now, we don't count calories in the faster way. So I know some of you, as we set up MyFitnessPal, will say, well, these calories are so high, or I'm so worried about my calories, I missed my macro goal. We're not going to focus on calories. Technically, if you hit your macro goals, so those macronutrients, we are going to set goals based in MyFitnessPal of what you should hit on a daily basis to help get us to our goals. Weight and overall physique goals. Now, with that being said, when we are looking at macros, each gram of macro correlates to a calorie amount. So for example, 1 gram of carb or 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. So that together, so if you hit those macro goals, you're going to hit your calorie goal just by means of hitting everything. I mean, if you hit this, you're going to hit that. So getting as close as possible to your macro goals will get you to that calorie goal. In the faster way, we log your food. We're going to eat to your macro goals each and every day based on what your body needs. And the goal is to fuel your body properly so that you are getting enough nutrients so your body doesn't think, hey, I'm starving and I need to hold on to everything. And then when I'm holding on to everything, I'm not able to burn fat. So let me say that a little bit differently. If you do not eat enough food, it is nearly impossible to burn fat because your body goes into a storage mode. So people on very low calorie diets, yes, they work for a little while. They work because you are losing some of your muscle. You are pulling all of these things for a certain amount of time, and then your results stall and you have to cut your calories again. Well, at some point that's not sustainable. And long-term calorie restriction can lead to, having little to no muscle, decreasing your muscle mass, low energy levels, and, other things like poor mood, not able to sleep as well. And then, like I said, the need to further cut your calories to see any results. What we want to do is fuel your body properly with enough nutrients, with enough food to allow your body to say, hey, I have what I need. I can use this other time period while I am intermittently fasting to burn excess fat as fuel. So really have to be honest with yourself as we are setting up these goals and starting to hit your macro goals every day. If you find that you're hungry, you have got to speak up and we have to look at your macros. We have to make sure that your macros are high enough that you are able to burn fat. Okay, this is so important. So MyFitnessPal, super important, and also kind of a pain for at times. It's a great app because it has so many foods already loaded in it. It is free. There is a premium version. You do not need the premium version. Some people like it because you can change your daily goals, but to be honest, you don't necessarily need the premium version. Get familiar with it. If you haven't downloaded it, go ahead and download the free version. There is a free trial of the premium version. So if you're interested, do the free trial, see if it's worth it before you spend the extra money. Log your food daily, even if it's not exactly what you necessarily should be eating. So let's say you screw up one day and you're only around processed foods and you can tell I have kids and you eat some goldfish. Log it. We want you to get in the habit of everything you eat being put into MyFitnessPal. There are going to be instructions posted tomorrow about how to properly set up your MyFitnessPal goals. Now, this is so important. There are going to be people who say, well, I want to lose 2 pounds per week, so I'm going to set it to this, even though this says I shouldn't. I should set it to 0.5. We are using MyFitnessPal as a guide to give us the right numbers so that we are fueling your body properly so you can burn fat, okay? If you do not get enough nutrients, you will not burn fat and you will not see the results that you could otherwise. So very important. I can't tell you how many times I have to tell people over and over, this is not what you should set your MyFitnessPal to. We've got to increase the amount of food. But people, I get it. You're scared of eating more food because more food in your head, it's very hard to not think more food equals I will gain weight. I promise you're not going to gain weight because we're going to properly fuel your body and therefore you're going to get the right nutrients. Your body's going to burn fat. It's going to work, I promise. So use the guide to set up your MyFitnessPal for your goal weight loss per week based on what the goal is. So 0 to 15 pounds is a certain number of pounds per week, 0.5 pounds per week. 15 to 30, over 50. All of those are very important to make sure you're setting it up properly. Your activity level is also important. So if you are currently exercising or you plan to get into exercising pretty quickly, you should be on active. There's not one person here who should be on not very active because, to be very honest, that means that you are sitting all day, every day. You maybe had a surgery and you're not able to move. None of us are like that. Even if you've just recovered from something like a C-section and you're incorporating the exercise or the diet only, you're still burning extra fuel because you've recently had surgery and whatnot. Like, you really should not be not very active. Okay. No one's not very active. Now, if you have not been exercising or not planning to exercise, if you are planning to start slowly with exercise, maybe only incorporating a day or two, you could set yours to lightly active, and that would be acceptable. Now, if you start to notice that you're hungry, or you start exercising, 5 days a week, you probably should bump it up to active. I'm here the whole time with you, guiding you through this so you don't have to remember all of this. But what I do want you to do is use that guide to set up MyFitnessPal the proper way. And then tomorrow, there's a macro post. I want to see your screenshot of MyFitnessPal nutrient tab so that I can check your macros and make sure they make sense for the goals that you put in your new client assessment. Okay, so I will be checking these to make sure they are personalized to you, to make sure we're getting you to your goals as quickly as possible. That being said, MyFitnessPal is a guide. It is a general guide. It is a tool. It's a great starting place. We may make adjustments. We may make adjustments in a week when you say, man, I'm just stuffed and I can't eat this much. Or I'm starving, same thing. We've got to make adjustments. So keep me updated on how things are going once we start eating to these macronutrient goals. Now, planning around your macros can be a little tricky at first. Remember, you have the meal plan that you can go by. What I want you to do is really take it slowly, ask your questions, lean on the accountability group, but 2 ways to do it. Biggest tip first, plan the night before. You don't have to prep your food, but you do need to plan ahead. That is going to get you to your goals in the very best way, the fastest way. So what I really want you to do is plan the night before. If you need to, and you find that you're running out of macros by the end of the day, you can break up your macros into meals. So let's say you plan on eating 3 meals, break your macros into 3 meals and hit those macro goals, the smaller goals for each meal. I don't do that. I start with my most important meal of the day. For me, that's dinner. I always put in my dinner first, then I put in my lunch, and I backfill with snacks like fruits and veggies, nuts and whatnot to make up the rest of my day. So that's another way to do it. If all else fails, you can always grab a protein, a carb, a fat, add some fiber, and there's your meal and you're good to go. Again, don't forget about the meal plan. That's a great way to kind of start, and then you can adjust as needed as you go through your day, or as you're looking at the week and you say, well, I don't really like fish, swap it out with something else that works. So it is just a guide. Like I said, pre-log your food as much as possible. That's going to help you get to your goals as quickly as possible. It does make a huge difference. I promise you will see that as you get further down the road with this. But if you start that way, you're going to see results even faster. Looking ahead, we are going to be doing low carb days, not keto days, but lower carb days next Monday and Tuesday. Our next training will be Monday and we'll talk about the carb cycle, but I want you to prepare this weekend for 2 low carb days back to back on Monday and Tuesday. Low carb for us is less than 50 net carbs for women, or less than 100 for men and women who are breastfeeding. Okay, so less than 50 net carbs for women on low carb days, and less than 100 for men and breastfeeding women. What is a net carb? A net carb is your total carbs minus your fiber equals net carbs. So in MyFitnessPal, on the nutrient tab, which you're going to have videos tomorrow about MyFitnessPal and kind of a guide through it, you're going to see exactly which tabs I want to see on a daily basis. You are going to post those tabs and how you're doing, hitting your macros every day. But when you are looking at that nutrient tab, you're going to see total carbs, and right underneath it, thankfully, is fiber. Fiber, you subtract your fiber from, or your total carbs and your fiber, you get a number. That is your net carbs. Fiber does not get absorbed into the body, so it does not cause an insulin spike. Therefore, we can remove that and not count it as a carb that affects a low carb day. Okay, so don't forget tomorrow, you're going to look for that guide of how to set up your MyFitnessPal goals. You are going to look for how to post those tabs that we want. For everyone, want the nutrient tab, and I'm going to show you exactly where that is. You take a screenshot, and then you're going to post that in the daily thread every day starting tomorrow. Okay. And that's going to be at the end of the day. You post that. There's a macro tab right beside your nutrient tab. I'd love to see both, but if nothing else, shoot me the nutrient tab. That's a lot of information in 21 minutes. I hope that it all made good sense to you. There's going to be a lot of resources this week, so don't get overwhelmed and bogged down on MyFitnessPal. I will give you one tip. This is my tech tip for the day. Sometimes I feel like I am a MyFitnessPal tech team person because MyFitnessPal is a great app, but it's not perfect. If you have used MyFitnessPal in the past, it's fine to still use the same profile. Make sure that your initial weight and your starting weight are the same. So we want to erase the past. Let's start from scratch so you're not getting inappropriate macro goals. If you find that it is not saving or it is not updating like you want it to, delete the app, reinstall it, and log in like you have in the past with your screen name and password. It will save what you've done, but it usually takes the glitches out. So that is my tech tip for the day, because I do feel like I am a tech person for MyFitnessPal some days with trying to troubleshoot these, which I'm happy to do. But try that first because that usually fixes most problems. I hope you guys understood what I was talking about with all of these macros and whatnot. There's going to be a lot of resources this week, including some videos on how to use MyFitnessPal, and then also some tips and tricks that I found, like the restaurant finder and how to make a recipe and put it into MyFitnessPal, as well as using the barcode scanner. So some good things coming from a video standpoint this week that will help you with MyFitnessPal. And then we will start tracking starting tomorrow. I want to see your nutrient tab every single day. I hope you guys have an excellent day. I look forward to seeing your macros tomorrow. When you post, please make sure you put in what you set your goal to and your activity level. And I'll remind you that in the post, but look for a specific macro post. And when you post your screenshot, with that, put 0.5 pounds per week / active. Whatever yours are, make them specific to you. And I can't wait to track all those. I'll be reaching out to each one of you about that. Have an excellent day. I can't wait to see your updates.